Welcome to season 2, episode 15 of Dr. G at the Heart of Healthcare. I have Betsy Hall, the executive director for their thoughts, here with me today to talk about Brain Health Month. Hi, Betsy.
Hi, thank you, Dr. G, for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I put my brain in a bow for you today since we're talking about brains.
I love it. It looks great. And it's perfect for the kickoff of the summer. So it's
Oh,
perfect.
I know. Happy summer. Happy summer.
Yeah.
Think it's gonna be hot. Yeah.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I get to sit down and talk to you. Audience, I had the wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Look, I'm already jumping into the story because I'm so excited, right? But I had the wonderful opportunity to first meet Betsy in the community and then participate in her program. So let me stop doing that. We need to do an intro first. How would you introduce yourself, Executive Director? Give us a mini bio of you.
Sure. My name is Betsy Hall. I am the founding executive director. I found For Their Thoughts in 2020 when the world shut down and closed their doors. We opened our doors.
Mm,
My this is kind of my second career. My first career, I did energy sustainability and energy security for the military. Um, and then I was personally impacted by a type of dementia called frontotemporal dementia, FTD, when my mother was diagnosed at a young age in her 50s. And after realizing that my problem wasn't my problem, it's a macro problem and affects millions of Americans, and millions of Americans feel isolated and alone and dismissed by both the medical system and friends and family because they don't understand. I started For Their Thoughts to change that, to lift the stigma, to lift dementia families, and to lift each other.
fantastic. I love that. And I felt that too. So we'll get more into that a little bit. So I was able to participate in the Rethink Dementia Happy Hour, and that sounds kind of weird, people, but it was fantastic. And I'm going to read the little snippet from the post that you made because there's a little picture of me with the goggles on when I
Oh, I
was.
use that photo all the time because it's such a great photo.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way that it says is it says walk in the shoes of someone with dementia hearts. Learn effective tips to empathize, communicate, and improve the time spent with your loved one slash client because sometimes the caregiver, it's just their job. And it was the free Rethink Dementia Happy Hour. And people, it was just so great. I had to put on a headset that had some kind of conflicting, confusing background sounds, like maybe 5 TVs on and traffic going by, goggles that kind of changed my vision, gloves that changed my tactile ability. And then we were given the opportunity to go into a room and do some tasks, and it was very challenging. And so it really was eye opening for us to put ourselves in the shoes of someone just in general because, I work in hospice. Everyone knows that, end of life care. And so by the time they're in at that stage, it's a little bit different. But sometimes, daughters, sons, family members, husbands, wives can have, it's just challenging because they still see their person the way that they were. And it's been a long road. And so it was just really a good thing just to just enlighten me. So thank you for putting it on. So tell everybody how you came up with that and go on and talk about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it, we came up with it in around April of 2022, and we were having our first benefit. We were still relatively new nonprofit, and but it was adamant to me. I wanted people to come to the benefit and understand why we do what we do, why it matters that caregivers and families of dementia are supported, and like really experience what they're going through. Because, like I said before, it's just such an isolating disease. I've heard it referred to as the invisible disease, that
Mm,
like you can't see it, And mental illnesses in general, like it's just so hard to relate and empathize. So I was trying to figure out like how we could do that. And I had heard that there was VR versions, and I'm an engineer by trade, and I'm like, I am not reinventing the wheel. Like somebody else has this idea. Like, so what we did is we kind of did some research, and we actually found a company that we are now partners with, and they are the managing partners or the licensed partners of that equipment that you wore. And we are the license here in San Diego. And we have a fantastic relationship with them. So we license the equipment, and then we kind of took it to the whole new level with all of the with the education empathy session that you had with it, because that really puts it together. But to me, until there's compassion for dementia, people aren't going to be equipped to step in and support. And so that's how we came up with it. It was just like it was a need, and we figured it out.
Mhm. What's the name of the organization that you partner with for that?
Agucate, Ageucate. Yeah, so they're a wonderful organization that we partner with, and so yeah, they've been fantastic at training us and letting us obviously use their equipment. It's been great.
Yeah, and what was also phenomenal about that time, we had the debrief session
Mhm.
in the conference room at your offices, and just, being able to share, and you have wonderful educational, um, content, that you had all out for us, and then you shared a personal story. So, I don't know how much you wanna dive into that, but I just remember I was so struck when you said, I can't say this without tearing up, and for me, that's when you know that someone's passion and their purpose, when every time they talk about it, it just does that. So you wanna share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think you're referring to kind of how my mom was diagnosed. So my mom, I was fresh out of college and I went from being Miss Independent to now I was in this new world and trying to figure out, navigating job, where to live, all that. And my mom just didn't seem to just be there. She was very indifferent and apathetic, and that's not how my mom is. And my family and I, when we were all back together for Christmas, we were able to exchange the stories and realize that we were all seeing that. But my mom was so young, it didn't, like, in her 50s, it didn't make any sense. And no thanks. I don't want to completely poo-poo on the medical system, because there's some fantastic people out there. Um,
But it's broken. We
it's
will
broken.
say the healthcare system is broken. That's why I do these podcasts, to
Yes,
help
it's
people.
broken. Exactly. And so two things happened. One is that as we were going through the test, my sister, who was getting her degree in speech pathology, just happened to have one lecture with one slide on FTD. And I don't think I told you this part. And so when she showed it to all of us, we were all like, our hearts just dropped. I mean, there was no question that that wasn't what my mom had. And so we brought that to the doctor, and he agreed. So he sent us to a specialist, and it was a specialist in dementia, well known person. I won't say his name. And then we went through more tests. Months went by. We called, waited for results, called, waited for results. And then at that point, I had moved home while we were trying to figure everything out. And um, then one day, we just got a letter in the mail, and it was a letter from the doctor saying, you have primary progressive aphasia. It's a form of FTD. There's nothing we can do. Thank you for coming to see me. Please share this information with your family. And that was it. And I like to say to people that, can you imagine if you got a terminal diagnosis of cancer through the mail? Like, nowhere to go. Didn't tell us how long she had to live, what was going to happen to her, what we should do, what to expect. Absolutely nothing. And so we just had to figure it out on our own. So
Lord have mercy. Thank you for sharing that, because I know that's hard. And so many daughters, sons, caregivers are dealing with that same thing every single day. And there has to be a better way. I know you and I talked about Dementia Care Aware. That's a new education put on
Mhm.
by the University of San Francisco to help physicians walk families through the planning of what it
Yes.
should be when they get to that stage, like when they identify it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but then figuring out who the people are, the helpers, the resources, and all that stuff. We have to do better. So for now, we have this podcast, and for now, we have people like you educating the public with the pain of that, taking that to help others. And so whew, that's not good. And so so you figured everything out, and then um you guys were able to take care of her, and then you started this organization.
Yeah, pretty much. So unfortunately, my mom, fortunately or unfortunately, I will never be able to fully answer that question. But um, my mom lived for 5 years with the disease. What I did leave out is also about a month after my mom was diagnosed, my grandmother, when we broke the news to my grandfather, his response was, "Your grandmother's showing the same symptoms." So my mom and grandmother were diagnosed about a month apart from each other and went through the journey together and passed the same year in 2013. And we watched friends and family disappear. Um, and now I can reflect back and say it wasn't because they didn't care. It was because they weren't equipped to know how to show
Mm,
up.
mm,
And I learned that through I spent some time in Italy and I ran up this volcano and for this awareness
mm,
campaign. And I ran the volcano weekly for almost 3 years, and only twice had I ever run it by myself because people kept joining and telling about their aunt with vascular dementia, their grandfather with Alzheimer's, and everybody seemed to fit into two categories of they felt left behind and isolated and didn't know where to go, or they were once removed and like wanted to help but they didn't know how. They didn't even understand what their relative was going through. They didn't know how to talk to them. And so that's what kind of when I had the epiphany that this wasn't my story and we had to do something about it. And we have to start with empathy and we have to start with compassion and building people's confidence and understanding about the disease, and so they feel equipped to step in. And so with Rethink Dementia, our target audience is that once removed, which is the care professionals, the home care professionals that are going into the home that aren't receiving dementia training, the nurses, but also the friends and the family that are surrounding the families, and so that we can build that community of action and compassion, all the things.
That's a great thing and a step. And so, wait, let me make sure I understand. You said you were going up a volcano, like you were doing the tour. I don't want to gloss over that. What was that?
so so my dramatic response to after my mom passed away was I took a job in Italy. So I was living in Italy, working for the Department of Defense, and I lived in Naples, Italy, which Mount Vesuvius, the volcano that took out Pompeii,
Oh
is
my
was
gosh, I
really
remember Pompeii. That was
yeah,
so
yeah.
striking in elementary, no, middle school. I was like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody remembers that story. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Vesuvius is the volcano, and it's still an active volcano. And it is, it's always steaming a little bit, and everybody's like, yeah, just keep steaming as long as you don't blow up. But, anyways, so I lived right next to it. And a friend of mine had been like, Betsy, like, that's a great thing to run to train because I was training for a race. And then I just woke up one day and I was like, started thinking about my life, and I hadn't really done much in the last couple of years about dementia. And I was like, this is an amazing life, but everything was selfish. So I just went on Facebook and I proclaimed, I'm going to run up this volcano every single week until I raise $100,000 for it. And the next day I woke up and said, oh, I should make that $10,000. Like I went a little too high with a full-time job. So I started every Tuesday, I would drive over to the volcano and run up it. And like I said, people like so I told people about it, and then word of mouth got found, like word of mouth, more people found out about it, and people just sometimes it was one person with me, sometimes it was 12 people with me. There was like 50 people with me, and we all just went up the mountain. We went up, we'd go up the volcano. You could walk, run, however, and then we'd get up the top, and then we would share kind of our reflections of like how we were impacted by different dementias, and then we would make our way back down to the cars and get some wine and pizza.
What a true advocate and world changer. Thank you for sharing that. That is such a cool story. I hope you have
Thank you.
pictures I can see one day when we hang
I
out
do.
again.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool. I love it. Wow. Okay. Well, before we get to, I want to hear about, your vision for the future
Mhm.
of, further thoughts and some things you want to see or some goals that you may have. Um, well, we can go ahead and do that right now. So you want to share where you see things going?
Yeah, I mean, big picture, obviously, I want compassion. I want dementia to be seen the same way that cancer and other terminal um, or serious big diseases are seen. I want people to feel empowered to step in and drop off a casserole dish because they want to do something. That's the big vision. And for further thought specifically, my goal is to keep getting out in the community with rethink dementia. Our business model is that professionals can receive it and for a fee, and they get CEUs and CMUs for it. We just got the CMUs confirmed the other day, so excited about that because I know we were talking about that. And thanks to you, actually, I went back to the providers, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you can get CMUs too." So I'm excited to announce that
Congrats. Yeah.
because that's huge. That's really huge because that means
Yeah.
that we can get further into the system, and then but the proceeds will go to our other program, the Caregivers Relief Program, and it will directly provide, customized resources, financial relief, and we will always provide this free to caregivers. And so, the community deserves this. And so that way we kind of all come together for it. So that's the goal. We start here in San Diego. I want to do chapters so that way it's always personal, it's always local,
Mhm.
and we can just kind of replicate this because it's needed, not just here in San Diego. It's needed all across the country.
Wow, I wish you all the best with that. You're unstoppable. I already know it's gonna happen because you
I
ran
hope
up
so. I
that.
have the song going in my head now.
Which one?
Unstoppable. Unstoppable. I forget who sings it.
Okay,
It'll come to me. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna use that to promote
Yeah.
this episode. No, that is fantastic, and now you will be forever connected to Pompeii in my brain. You overcame that mountain. You ran up that volcano. That is
Vesuvio is how you pronounce it in Italy, and I just absolutely we have a relationship. I have a
you know.
relationship with a
Mhm.
volcano now.
It's kind of, metaphorical also because of the challenges that families have with dementia. I just met someone last night at a memory care. There's a bunch of events that we have, and one of the people who work there is having a situation with her mother, and she said she already dealt with it. Did you say her father or another family member? And she's just like, it's a terrible disease. And she was asking for advice and all that stuff, but she has to be at work with the happy face, and then she's dealing with this journey a second time with her mother. And so the metaphor of you running up that mountain, you're helping so many people in the same way. I remember bringing up to you when we met, I had just seen that movie, Still Alice.
Hmm.
I think I was the last person to see that movie. I was with the Alzheimer's Association in LA, and there was a screening, and I was watching it, and I was like, "Wow, Alec Baldwin lost a lot of weight." And my friend said, "This is from 10 years ago." And so I
It
was
is.
like,
It is. Yeah, you're right. I forgot. It is a while because it
And
was.
so
Yeah.
everyone was crying, and this is like my own inside joke. I'm like, this is like the white people Color Purple. You know, the Color Purple movie. It's
Yeah.
like every time you watch it over and over again, you cry, get emotional. It's funny. And I was with one of the board members from the Association of Black Women Physicians. But anyway,
Mhm.
that's a sidebar. I watched it and I was just like, whoa. And like the producers were there, the writers, everyone was there. I was like,
Really?
whoa, I can't believe
Wow,
I'm
that's
here.
powerful.
I was like,
Wow.
where was I 10 years ago? And I was like, oh, I remember. I was in med school, so I wasn't going to any movies.
Mhm.
And so I didn't know. But the reason I bring that up is because I remember the daughter in there. And when you shared your story, how you had just gotten out of college and all that stuff, it reminded me of her. And I don't remember the whole movie, but I feel like it kind of maybe left people hanging without an answer, but you are the answer. Think organizations like For Their Thoughts, equipping people and empowering people with education and information to have the empathy to take care of people and walk that road. That's I mean, I said a lot of words, but I hope that was clear.
Yeah.
So just thank you for being that answer for people. And I hope this podcast just, amplifies what you're doing.
Well, thank you. And I'm totally the way you just said it was perfect. So I'm going to listen to this podcast later and write exactly down what you just said. I'm like, that's it. She said it. She's
All right.
Dr. G has come up with our new mission statement. So thank you.
Oh, no, happy to help. Yeah, this is gonna drop the end of Brain Health Month, and you are doing great things for the community, for the nation, and for the world. So thank you for being here. Any last words before we close this episode?
No, I don't. Let's just thank you for having me. Thank you for, coming to the happy hour and representing the medical industry, and because it really does mean a lot. It's, one person at a time, but I really believe that every time we touch somebody who's can touch more lives, then we're a multiplying factor. And so thank you for being a part of that. I really appreciate it. So
My pleasure. Well, amen. Well, we're signing out on this episode of Brain Health Month, and happy to be here. Peace.